guys, Mark Freeman here, and today I'm going to be working on a Juniper Bonsai. I've been working on this bonsai a little bit, probably got about 8 months ago or so, and this was initially a nursery stock bonsai that I got for only $6. If you go at the right season, you usually go in the fall or winter. Many times a lot of stores will be selling their plants cheaper because they're trying to get rid of them because they're usually going to be getting new stock in for the spring. So sometimes you can get discounted trees. When I got this plant, it was a shrub. It was much larger than this. I really trimmed it down, I pruned it, I removed a lot of the main branches, if you can see some of the dead wood here, and I've just been allowing it to regrow, but it's gotten to the point where it needs to be brought in again. It's getting a little too lanky, and I'm starting to I've kind of figured out how I want to further the design of the tree. So the next step of this tree is going to be working on the lead branch. I'm going to let some of the side branches continue to grow, more as sacrificial branches, because I'm looking to remove those branches later on. I kind of just want to thicken up parts of the trunk, and I'm actually looking to produce more gin wood. So this back branch back here, I think I want to thicken it, make it into a gin eventually, and for now it'll just kind of add some more vigor to the tree to keep it alive. And some of these side branches along this trunk I might keep. I'll probably reduce them, but for now I mainly want to work on this lead and the direction of this plant. So as you can see right now with this trunk, the trunk kind of starts off going a little bit in this direction and then kind of bends dramatically going in the opposite direction, and then once again bends in a final direction this way. So I'm thinking I want to continue this zigzag pattern of the tree until I kind of have a portion that will be a little more upright with branches coming out, more of a triangular kind of shape. That's my vision for this tree as of now. In order to do that, I need to either bend this branch, which won't really give me a lot of good taper because the main trunk line will be similar in length most of the way through this lead branch here. So by cutting it down and selecting one of these side branches, become the new lead, I can hopefully develop a little bit better taper and have a little more of an interesting angle to the tree as it goes back and forth. Okay, so in order to determine exactly where I want to make this cut, I need to take a look at the tree and see which branch would be best to cut to. And I've been looking at this tree for a while now and really trying to decide. And I'm thinking the best branch, although this one would be good because it's long, you can see this one, I think it's going to be a little bit too close where this started. I feel I want a little more length of this branch here. So I'm thinking this branch right here might be the ideal branch, and then I'll use some wire to bring this down a little bit, more, and then to kind of start positioning this in the opposite direction. Okay, so I'm trying to decide exactly where I want to make this cut. As of now, I feel this is going to be the new lead branch here, but I want to cut right at it. I want to give it a little time to heal, and again, I might want to produce a little bit of gin wood, kind of like I did here, a little bit of the remaining dead branch, just kind of show that the branch died back, and that's what led to this. It can always be removed in the future, but it's the kind of thing you can't regrow in that exact spot. So for now, I'm going to give a little extra space just for that reason. So I'll start by taking off some of the lead trunk right here. So now I just got to double check and decide if I think this is best for the tree. So ideally I want to use some wire to try to bring this down a little bit more. Slightly. And then use one of these branches to come off to the opposite side. So we're going to turn this around for a second. And right now the branch is too high and definitely needs to come down. I think keeping it all the way to here is just going to be, it just looks too long. You know, usually I don't wire at this point, but I think I might add a little wire to see how it looks with the wire at that angle and try to determine which branch would be best. Quickly just add a little bit of wire. It's going to be too long. It's going to be too much over the center of the tree. I kind of want to keep the foliage a little off-center to the left. So I'm going to remove these branches here. So, I reduced the length of this branch fairly significantly, and I left this branch become the new lead. So now I'm going to change the wire angle a little bit because I want it starting to go in the opposite direction. So I'm actually going to cut back some of the other branches here. Partly unwind this wire. And actually bring it around on this side of the branch. Not really going to fully wrap it on this branch, but I kind of just want to angle it a little bit the other way. Branch is pretty thin. I'd have to use really thin wire, and I don't even know if I want to risk damaging it right now with the wire. So just kind of making a little hook on it just to kind of get it going to the right direction. And it'll still be pretty thin and flexible, easier to wire for a little while until it really starts to grow. So I'm not too concerned about not being able to wire in the future. As for this, I'm going to shorten this a little bit. And then I think I'm going to, for now, create a gin. Knife so I don't take off too much of the live wood. I'm going to actually cut down a few of these branches just because they're getting in the way of the main lead a little bit. I don't want anything hindering that growth right now. Alright, so right now I think that looks a lot better. I think it's starting to kind of take on a little more of a bonsai structure. This branch will continue to grow. Hoping this will this new lead, I'm looking forward to seeing how this is going to progress, continue to grow in this direction. And I think it's going to continue progressing into a nice little Shohin bonsai. In the future, I'll probably looking to repot this plant, and I'm going to be changing the angle in which it's potted a little bit. I want to get a little more upright. Again, I'm just letting this back end kind of grow right now because I want to create more gin, so I'm just letting them thicken up as much as possible, not worrying about that. And even some of this foliage in here off the main trunk will eventually be removed, but for now it's helping to heal some of the wounds that were made to this back when I had previously made some gin wood and cut back branches. So I think for now it's looking pretty good. I'm liking how it's looking. This branch is a little bit lower here. And I think that's going to be all the work I'm going to do today. Just kind of some minor work. I will allow the rest of everything to continue growing, and hopefully expect the big things from this new shoot. I'm just going to take this down actually a little bit more. That's the way. Cool. So, that's the next step in this tree. And again, this tree was only $6. It's got a pretty decent thick trunk for the price, which is pretty nice. So if you're interested in making your own bonsai, which I think could be a lot more rewarding, a lot more fun than just simply, and a lot cheaper than just buying one from the store. And there's a quick note on buying bonsai trees. There are a few different places you can actually buy a bonsai. Some people will opt to buy from like a large department store. You can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, they usually have bonsais. But these trees are not always necessarily of the highest quality. Many times if you're buying bonsai trees that have glued rocks on the surface of the soil, it's kind of a mass-produced tree. It might not be the healthiest, it might not be the best tree in the long run. I have purchased trees like that in the past. I've gotten junipers. They all died when I was younger, and I kind of moved away from doing that kind of stuff, buying those types of trees. Also, I bought a couple ginseng ficus when I was just starting off, and same thing. So if you do buy a tree like that, because sometimes you might have a bonsai dealer locally, and you can get a good deal. Sometimes, like if it's an off season, although usually you'll probably pay a lot of money for one at one of these stores. You can buy it. The first thing you should do is remove the rocks. So take it out of the pot, break off the glued rocks. You can replace it with loose rocks, or just replace everything and just put it in good bonsai soil. So that would be my recommendation if you do end up buying a plant like that. I do have about 3 of those little ginseng ficus. They're not bad, and they're great. I made a lot of cuttings from them, so I've gotten a lot more plants from them from the initial investment, and I've gotten them pretty cheap. So in that sense, it's not really a bad idea. Other places to get bonsai trees, though, that I would recommend would be, again, either buying nursery stock real cheap. This plant was only $6, and it's already starting to take a form. When you get a tree from a nursery, it's usually much larger, and it allows you to be very creative with your tree. It'll allow for a lot of different designs, which you might not be able to get if you're collecting material. If you go out and you collect older material, the tree usually has its set features, which is great. You can get a lot of great material. The older collected material is referred to as Yamadori, and that's good stuff. But at the same time, it's like you're just refining the tree to bring out the beautiful characteristics that are already there. You're not really designing it from scratch. So to be able to start with a younger tree, either one you planted from seed, or one you got from nursery stock when it was still relatively young, you can create a tree to your liking a little bit more rather than just refining what's already been created. If you do choose to buy a bonsai tree that's been pre-created, I would recommend trying to find a local bonsai nursery. There are some specialized nurseries that cater to bonsai trees and bonsai enthusiasts. You will be paying a premium for the trees, but the trees are usually of good quality. If you're just getting started and you're concerned about killing a more expensive tree, or just don't have the money for it, I'd recommend, going to a store, department store, getting a cheap tree like this, $5, $6, $7, and it's a good way to at least start practicing. I just recommend getting a tree that's going to grow well outdoors in whatever environment you live in, depending on where you live in the country or the world. Buy a tree that's local to that area, so you'll be successful at growing it outside. Most outdoor plants will not be brought inside and grow well. If I were to bring this juniper inside, it probably wouldn't survive more than a year. Probably less than that. So if you're growing a tropical species like a Schefflera or a ficus, those can usually, depending on the species, can do pretty well indoors, and that could also be a great option if you want to have a plant inside as a decoration. But otherwise, go for a plant that is cheap, will grow in your area, and usually has some interesting characteristics that you can actually select the characteristics to form a decent bonsai. When I go to a plant nursery, if I'm going for a cheap plant on a closeout like this, I take the time to look at what they have. I don't just grab the first one on the rack. I look at the trunk structure. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the first, 3 to 6 inches of trunk. Are there areas in which I could build taper into this trunk? Do I have multiple potential scenarios that I could do in case part dies back, or in case I make a mistake, or in case I just change my vision for the tree? In this instance, I saw this branch, and I saw this branch back here. Initially, I was thinking of keeping this branch. I don't know if you can see, but this dead branch back here. I was initially going to keep this the lead, and then I decided it was going to be too tall, and I decided to shorten it by selecting this branch here, and then just turning this into ginwood. So make sure you're looking for an interesting root structure, trunk structure, but also one that also is wide and has decent root ball. You can't always see the roots when you're looking at a tree like this that's in the soil. However, the thickness of the trunk can sometimes determine that. So look for a root spread, look for a good thick trunk with good nabari, that's the root spread, and that kind of feeds into the initial taper of the trunk. So really look for the trunk line. Can you get an interesting pattern out of the tree? And what kind of style are you going for? Do you want a formal upright tree, in which you might want a tree that's already growing more upright? Certain species will be better for that. You want a tree that you want to keep kind of low, twisted and gnarled, a little more like this. So you're going to want to look for that thick trunk with a lot of thicker branches coming out nice and low that you could easily cut back the tree to and shape it. So if you get nursery stock, it's really not that hard to create a bonsai. It's going to take a little practice sometimes to get the right balance and shape of the tree, and that just comes with time and practice. But I would recommend taking a look at a variety of different plants at the store, see what looks good for you and what's going to be best for your plant and your liking, and just practice. You can get trees for $6, you can get a few. If you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. You buy a $200 tree, you screw it up, kind of a bigger deal. So that's just an update on this tree, and giving you a little information on how to start a bonsai and how you can start the hobby of bonsai for a minimal cost. Thanks for watching, and hope you tune in again for some more bonsai videos.